hand to get in and infect the body. Let us understand the mouth part. If you swallow that thing, it gets killed in the stomach. But the mouth entry is if you have microscopic cuts in the mouth that allow that bacteria to get in. That's the first thing. So what was the first line of defense? Right. And then? Let me tell you the incorrect thing they're telling you about shaking hands, and now you'll understand why. If I shake Pastor's hand and he has a virus, corona, barona, whatever, typically we don't shake hands and then go wash them right afterwards. I may shake his hand, and then I go eat. I might have a microscopic cut in my mouth, or I might rub my eye, or rub my nose, and whatever we passed on the handshake now enters the body. But it does not mean that you're gonna die. Does that make sense? Here's the second thing. Okay, what do you breathe? Air. What should you drink? Water. Here's why. H2O is water, O is oxygen. When you get a cut on your hand, what is that liquid that you look for in a brown bottle to clean up the cut? Peroxide. The combination of air and water produces peroxide, which is produced in your lungs. The lungs use that peroxide to fend off respiratory pathogens. So, follow the pathology and the guideline. If my air is compromised, then I cannot inhale enough oxygen to form a sufficient amount of peroxide. If what produces water, which is the kidneys, is compromised, I can't have enough air to be combined with the water, therefore my defense is compromised. Does that make sense? This is why if you're an asthmatic or a smoker, your air is compromised. This is why if you have a kidney disease, your water is compromised. If you're a diabetic, your air or water could be compromised depending upon if you're well controlled. But does it make sense that every day God has given you peroxide to produce because you're fighting off something every day? It's very important that you breathe air and drink water. Now, why am I telling you that? Do not be stupid enough to accept a cough suppressant from a doctor because you have a productive cough. Here's the next part. Everybody hold up your hand again. I'm almost done. I hope this is making sense. Wiggle your fingers like this. What am I showing you? Follow. In your lungs, you have what is called pseudostratified columnar epithelium. What that means is on the surface of your lungs, it's like a hand sticking out with hairs. Those hairs move sputum up for you to cough it out. When you smoke cigarettes or when you have a lung compromising disease, that pseudostratified columnar epithelium, which helps to get the sputum out, becomes like your skin. Therefore, you can't get the sputum out, but now you keep it in. So therefore, if you have a cough, you want something to help your body get that thing out. Do not let some dumb doctor give you a cough suppressant because you want to stop what God put for you to naturally defend yourself. Does that make sense? The last two things I'm going to tell you is very important that you understand this. Are we solid on the first line of defense, second line of defense, and the cough? Here's the third part. There is a cell in your body called a platelet. What the platelet does is it stops things from moving into parts of the body it should not go. Does that make sense? So when you bleed, the platelet forms a mesh so you don't bleed out. When you're infected with a bacteria or virus, guess what? The platelet forms the same barrier to stop that bug from going to other parts of your body. Does that make sense? What gives the platelet energy is vitamin K. Vitamin K is generated by good bacteria in your body so that the platelet could have food to produce the energy to stop a bacteria or virus from going into parts of the body it shouldn't go. Does that make sense? Do not let a stupid doctor continue to give you antibiotics for viral infections. When you take antibiotics, you kill off that good bacteria that gives your platelets the vitamin K to form the net to prevent the virus from going to other parts of your body. Does that make sense? The last thing I'm going to tell you is this, that we as a church, and what a powerful sermon by my cousin. She is. So she had to be a good preacher. It's in the genes. Here's the last thing you need to know. This is where God could get the glory. Ladies and gentlemen, Leviticus 11 warns us what animals not to eat, but also tells us stay away from them. God understood way back in the Old Testament that once we got too close and started eating these animals, the plagues would come. The next thing that God told us in Exodus 20 was to rest every 7 days of the week, especially your mind. Why? Here's why. Let me get to the rest part. You've got a thug in your body called a natural killer cell. That brother wipes out cancer, viruses, bacteria, or everything else. When the human body does not take a programmed rest, that cell is compromised, works overtime, and cannot defend you. So the reason why God said to rest every 7 days a week is because he wants that thug to be regenerated on Sabbath so that Sunday through Friday he could be doing his damage, that when you come to church and rest, he can be regenerated. So that's why you do not want to break the cycle of Sabbath rest. The last thing I'm going to tell you about Leviticus 11, which you need to understand, every single plague that man has faced, he has not learned. You disobey the health laws of God. God doesn't need to send you something. You're creating it yourself. Where did STDs come from? Because God said, Adam, I'm giving you Eve. Lamech came along and said, you know what? I want me more than one honey. So when he started practicing polygamy, we got a slew of STDs. When man started eating shrimp, lobster, crab, hepatitis A entered the human family. And now what happened in Wuhan, China was this. God never said that the bat was a clean bird. When they started processing the bat in Wuhan, China, next to fish, another plague was created. All of these plagues that we have today, even HIV, came from man disobeying what God said, because he said it tastes good, it feels good, so God must be wrong and I must be right. So here are your marching orders to keep yourself safe. Number one, steam. Start taking steam showers during winter because it kills the virus. Number two, instead of you blowing your nose and throwing that tissue in the good church waste bins, where I don't know if the deacons have a rotation schedule to clean up those garbage cans, when you have a runny nose that requires you to blow, rinse it out with saline into a sink, because that kills the virus. And finally, the last thing about eating cheese. A lot of Adventists coming on Facebook telling you, yeah, this is because, see, y'all been eating cheese, and it has to do with sugar. Ladies and gentlemen, eat an orange a day during the winter and cold season, not drink orange juice. Vitamin C stimulates your lymphocytes, which are the main cells that fight off viral infections, not so much bacterial infections, but keep your system ready throughout winter. Wash your hands, rinse your nose, take steam showers, and enjoy the Sabbath day, because God still works miracles.
Amen and amen. All right, we're just going to meet with the board now. I'm going